people,
Mhm.
but you know, it, I don't ever recall there being any closeted racism that ever seemed like it was coming to the forefront. But I'm gonna tell you what, it was like I hit a fucking hot button as soon as I said something about, because he's in northern Georgia, which is the whole reason I even mentioned it to him. Not because of this scenario behind it, but because of the locale, you know. Um, so then he sent me that video and he's like, well, what do you think now? Well, I think the same fucking thing I thought 10
Uh,
minutes ago. You know what I mean? I think the
yeah.
same motherfucking thing that I went in thinking, which is these motherfuckers murdered this man, and you ain't gonna tell me, that there's a law dating back to the Civil War that they use to detain shoplifters that justifies killing this man. And so then I was so fucking pissed because of the condescending, nasty ass nature, and I was just like, I mean, what's your vested interest, homeboy? You know what I mean? Like, apparently, you got a whole lot more riding on this than I initially suspected from the sounds of it, So, like, I just was like, I think it floored me for a second. Like, bitch, I know I ain't been commiserating with some sort of closet fucking racist. You know what I mean? Because this is some bullshit. Like, you really and truly are angry right now that I have an opinion that differs from yours about this. And, you're acting as though, this is some sort of fucking, some sort of club that I belong to or something. Bitch, trust me, I'm not anything in the same type of fucking scenario you're in right now, buddy. Let me go ahead and just clarify that shit because, like, it floored me, Brian. It floored me. I didn't even know what to think at that point.
As you can imagine, I have quite a bit to say about this here.
Oh, I'm
So the first thing, on the front of like the tone of that video and like kind of the attitude about that, every single time there is another black man that is shot by either the police or by just some random dude with a gun.
Mm-hmm. Some wannabe Barney.
This, I think I mentioned it in the thing I wrote. This like slander aspect of it, where it becomes okay. What was he doing? Let's look into his criminal history. Let's
what was he wearing?
Possible excuse to justify them killing a man in cold blood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We saw this with Trayvon Martin. We saw this with Michael Brown. I was in 2016. I was working in Louisiana in Shreveport actually, when I think I want to say Alton Sterling, the guy in New Orleans that got gunned down.
It was.
And I remember being in the office at the time, and there's one guy. He was a former Army guy, and he was going on and on about this guy's criminal record, as if that had any bearing on him being unarmed and the police shooting him. And
absolutely.
And I'm thinking to myself, this is like you're trying to find any reason possible. And here's where it gets into kind of some of what I talked about, in the thing I wrote, which was, as I said, when I was growing up, there were these little lessons that my parents and extended family would teach me about it, essentially how to navigate in life being black, especially as a black man,
Right. Well, you got to get your DWB lessons early in life. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to be caught DWB without a fucking license nowadays.
Of course.
Lord have mercy. Go ahead.
The presumption of guilt or the presumption of suspicion is always there, no matter where I go, I live now, obviously, in a place that is like blindingly white up in here in Northern California,
it's rice white where you live.
It is. That's what it is, but, to get back to it, so, those are just little lessons that I learned from very early on. So when I see stories like this, I can't help but think, here we go again. I can write the script already. You know, first it's going to be outrage, then it's going to be this. Well, what was he doing over there? What was he just as if there's just he must have been doing something.
Well, let's just see if we can't, locate what it is that made this white man feel as though he was in danger. Brian, they actually said because he reached for the gun, that gave him the right to understand your ground. What was he supposed to do? Put his fucking hands up and say, hey, you got me, dude. Go ahead, blast me. Hell no. If somebody, what would any normal fucking human being do? You're going to fight for your life, which is exactly what the man was doing, and I don't give a shit what is on a site in a house. He could have stolen the whole fucking house itself. It still is not worth that man's life. There's nothing that, and that's the thing, is that you cannot justify it. You can't, because all of that neighborhood put together, he could have loaded up on a fucking U-Haul and hauled up out of there, and it still wouldn't be worth his life. So whatever punk ass justification these people think that and I was talking about it earlier, and I was just like, unfortunately, with the way that video breaks it down, you'll find 6 people in northern Georgia that will agree with that. Northern Georgia is, listen, Blue Ridge, where my cabin was 0.8% Hispanic. That was all the ethnicity in the entire county outside of white people. I don't even know where the fuck you get a 0.8%, but you do. This is where this shit is taking place, and I'm here to tell you, I didn't think that the person that I knew up there felt that way until today. It opened my eyes, first of all, about them, but secondly, about the fact that it's been a fucking minute since I've been there, and I almost didn't remember the tone of things, but it came back pretty fucking quickly. I just sat there, and then I think what got me the most was that the sheer tone of it was almost, what do you have to say for yourself now? What the fuck do you think I have to say? I'm a civilized fucking human being. First of all, I'm educated. Secondly, I don't live in a bubble where shit like this is okay. I live in the real world where there's never a justification for what just happened here, because this was not a detainment. This was not a citizen's arrest. This was not, which a citizen's arrest is legally, where you detain until the cops show up, or you go in front of a judge and obtain a warrant. Okay, neither of which happened. So by combining the citizen's arrest law and the stand your ground law, you're going to somehow fucking try to justify murdering this man? Get the fuck out of here. Like, just a whole overtone of, like, who in the fuck are these people that actually feel this entitled to be racist fucking pieces of shit, that they think that they can actually justify this shit and then stand there looking at me down your nose as though you've just proven a point? There's no point to be proven here, baby. There ain't no fucking point that you can prove to me that will ever make this shit okay. I don't care if he was in the act of loading your fucking trailer home on the back of a fucking truck. I'm sorry, you're going to have to kiss Ethel goodbye because she's going for a ride. You know what I mean? There's no, I swear to you, I could not believe the sense of entitlement. And that's exactly what it boiled down to, was entitlement. He shouldn't have been walking around our neighborhood. Fuck you. So the question I asked Brian was, how many white citizens' arrests have taken place? You tell me that. How many white people have been citizen arrested in that neighborhood? Tell me why
he looks
this.
like he belongs in the neighborhood. It's okay. It's fine.
Oh yeah, it's good. Like, and with the problem that methamphetamine is in that county anyway, you cannot tell me that there haven't been white people go to that fucking job site and take shit off. And not only that, but the thefts from that neighborhood were from months and months ago. So we're not even in the same fucking timeline. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, I know that you're not using this as a justification, and that he really was. And I'm just like, okay, I don't know if I ever told you a story about why I don't get involved in domestic violence episodes ever again. When I had the drunk chick turn on me, her dude was whooping her ass outside of the fucking bowling alley. So I step in, this bitch grabs my motherfucking hair, as I'm pushing him, and whatever to get him off of her. So I had to choke this hoe to the floor. Well, as I'm doing that, he's kicking the shit out of me. I had my pistol on me and still didn't have to take anybody's life, So you can't tell me, and I'm a fucking chick, you know what I mean? You can't tell me that this is a scenario that, that even began to warrant deadly force. Not even in the fucking neighborhood. Not even in the fucking neighborhood. And yet this asshole is still trying to sit there and say to me, and I just was so disgusted, Brian. I was so and when I asked him, I said, okay, well, what I'd like to know then is how many white people in that neighborhood have had a citizen's arrest performed on them. Could you get me those numbers? Since you know so fucking much about the data and statistics, could you get me some numbers on that? That's what I'd like to know. Well, he's just, why would that matter? Why are you bringing race into it? Bitch, I'm not bringing race into it. Everything that's come out of your mouth has brought race into it. This is disgusting that you would even try to say that it's not racially motivated, because that's the only fucking motivation behind it. Lord have mercy.
So I've encountered this type of person. It's hundreds of times, I tell you. And the thing that will never change about race in this country is that from the very beginning, the people who have been in charge have been white men. Okay.
Now, always.
This particular group, from the most friendly, tolerant types to just the virulent racist types, none of them have ever had to experience anything like this type of discrimination, this type of scrutiny, this type of assumption of guilt.
Nope.
Never, ever. Not in any history at all. It's been
they couldn't dream of taking a walk in either of our shoes. They wouldn't dare.
So, and that's I guess at the beginning and at the end of what I wrote was essentially was that it is impossible for them to understand what it's like to be discriminated against, hated, threatened, assaulted, murdered, simply based on literally what you are, whatever your inherent, whether it be gender, whether it be skin color, just something inherent that you have no control over. Like, they've never experienced that before ever. So
they never will.
Yeah, there's always going to be a disconnect between what they view as, as what is right or wrong versus reality. And when I hear okay, especially after Obama got elected the first time, this term, and you've heard the same phrase, post-racial America. We live in a post-racial America. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? What does it even mean? That has no bearing whatsoever. Just because one out of, at that point, what was it, 43, 44 at that point? One.
Yeah, 44.
44, okay. And then everything's going to magically just get better. That's not how humans work at all.
Okay, let's be serious. First of all, I love Barack Obama because he's so classy, but honey, that wouldn't even qualify, because Barack Obama is the lightest shade of black you can go. You know what I mean? So he's like barely cream in the coffee black. That's, I literally am drinking coffee darker than him right now. So, that's, it's, I can't, I'm so angry. I'm so fucking angry about it right now. It just, I could spit nails. I could spit fucking nails not at the fact that, that he's so fucking ignorant, he still thinks this type of shit is okay, but the fact that he had the fucking nerve to argue it with me, and then, Mr. Snidely at me, well, what do you think now? What the fuck do I think? What do you think I think? What do you think I think? I think you're a fucking racist, and I think that this shit here, your right-wing black man that you got happening over here, thinking that that's going to make me think something different is more insulting than anything else, because now you're trying to dumb it down to me to put me on your level. Don't dumb shit down to me. Don't condescendingly ass tone me in order to try to justify your own ignorant fucking behavior, because that's all your ass is fucking ignorant. I'm disgusted. I'm just so fucking mad. And the shit that I want to say, like I could come unglued, but it's not going to do the same thing as, say, walking up and punching him in the fucking mouth, because that's what I feel like the situation merits. I feel like this is one of those scenes where nothing's going to get resolved until I punch somebody in the throat. And this is one of those.
Well, it was a Fox News type of moment where they will out the one of about 18 conservative Black people they can find,
Yeah.
and will them out.
22 of y'all, Brian. There's 22 of y'all. Now, don't say that. Now, you better get those ones in Idaho. Come on now.
So, it's always been the equivalent of, I have a Black friend, so
yeah.
you know what I mean. And again,
so my opinion weighs heavier than yours, because my Black friend said I'm right. Get the fuck out of here, man. I got a Black friend too, and guess what? He still ain't gonna let me act like an ignorant asshole, in front of however many fucking people, and think that I'm right, when obviously my tangent is completely. I could not fucking believe. Like, okay, here's what got me. It's not that they brought their Black friend out, but that the sheer number of people, and I use that term so fucking loosely at this point in the evening, the number of people that were actually commenting and using this shit as fucking justification. Who in the fuck are these people, that seriously can still pretend as though there's something left to fucking debate here? There's nothing in this scenario that does not absolutely reek of racism. And yet you are digging so valiantly trying to find some sort of fucking justification. You won't find one. You won't find one unless you're looking for one, because there's not one. This is blatant. And your Black friend can't tell me no different, baby. You know what I mean? Like, this is just, I'm floored. I am, because I thought maybe, 2020, maybe we're a little further than that. We do the whole this boy ain't a boy no more thing, and fluid, and everybody uses the same fucking bathroom and all that shit. So I thought we had moved much further along in the process, but apparently back in northern Georgia, it's still 1954, because this is, wow. Like, you got to be fucking kidding me. I'm just flagrant is what it was. It was a flagrant case of, look at my Black friend, he says it's okay, therefore I'm not a racist. And I'm just, maybe I'll have something different on it tomorrow when I can dream up something better to say. But right now I'm so fucking mad, I can't even think straight. Like, I'm disgusted. And I keep getting madder by the minute. It's one of them things. I might have to punch him in the face. That's what it is. It's the only way you can solve this. This merits a punch to the throat. So,
it's what makes talking about race so difficult with white guys, especially because they have no point of reference to understand what I'm talking about. Whether it be the more like obvious, like an overt act, versus a more like subtle one or subconscious one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, still to this day, I mean, in Western societies overall, white is the default. White is the standard of beauty. White is the quote unquote norm. Whenever I think of like somebody is described as being like all American, I think, okay, like a kind of a white guy eating some, I don't know, playing baseball, eating apple pie,
Eating
something
apple
like
pie.
that. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Like
Yep.
A Norman Rockwell painting, something like that.
Right.
Because
you?
that's, was it?
Do you, Brian? Do you? Is that your standard of America?
No. I'm saying that is the perception. That
Okay.
has been the perception for
Okay.
forever, essentially. So,
Right.
and on that point, whenever we talk about, like, say, you know, true American, who's a real American, things like that, those people who are like the nationalistic, jingoistic types, I always find it funny that there's always that group that, you know, wants the non-white people to leave, go back to
Mm-hmm.
wherever you came from, like after, go
Mm-hmm.
back, you know, and yet for many people, like my ancestors, I mean, they were slaves. I mean, we've been here a long time, hundreds of years, longer
Absolutely.
than many people who have been here, you know, who came here later. I would argue that I'm more American than that person or that person or that person because I don't really have any connection to my West African roots. Like ethnically, yes, but culturally, I'm 100%, 110% American. You know.
And see, I am actually first generation on my dad's side. You
Mhm.
know, so this is, you know, he came over on the boat. So after Mussolini, you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
that's you know, and yet if you put the two of us side by side, you know.
It just it's one of the things that always it boggles my mind because let's say in the late 19th century, early 20th century, you had a bunch of, let's say, Irish, Italian, Polish, German immigrants who came over, and you know, let's be fair here. Initially, the Irish and the Italians were not considered, you know, white. I
No,
recall
we were WOPs.
I recall when one of my history classes way back when they had old articles, newspaper articles describing whenever like a group of Italians fought, they'd call those race riots, you know, because they weren't considered white at that point. And so at
Hmm.
some point, you know, some point in the 20th century, those immigrant groups slowly, what's the word, acclimated, you know, and they got added to the overall like white mixture, desirable kind of mixture. And
Right,
yet,
which that was after Vegas for the Italians.
right,
So
right.
in the 70s, yeah, in the 70s they finally and that was also you have to remember though that was also when the drug trade swapped out. It was no longer the war against marijuana. It became crack cocaine, which is where it picked up the whole uh, momentum that it has now, which is you know, pretty much jail every guy that's standing on the corner, you know, with a nickel bag, you know what I mean, and you know, hand out life sentences for that shit, and you know, whatever. So I figure what y'all got, maybe 20, 30 years left to go, and then you know they'll be on to the next trend, whatever it is that they're trying to shut down. Hopefully it'll be doctors and pill mills, you know, that they'll be handing out those sentences to. But, you know, just wait 20, 30 years, Bri. Y'all, you know, hopefully y'all will get the better end of it when it's the physicians that are coming up next, you know. So,
Well, see, after us, I mean, you've got the South and West Asians, your Indians, your Syrians, you know, just
mm-hmm.
they're still in line. So, you know, got a little ways to go. But
Yeah, well, you know, did you see Trump with the Asian reporter the other day?
no.
Um, this fucking idiot. Man, I miss Obama so much because you could take him places. You know what I mean? You could take him to your friend's house. He wouldn't embarrass you like that. Like,
Dude,
this
after the damn
motherfucker's a fucking embarrassment. He's
no.
a fucking embarrassment. Like, I couldn't, but listen, my jaw hit the floor, Brian. I said, did he just fucking say that to an Asian reporter? Tell me he didn't. She pulls her fucking mask down. Why would you ask me that? Like, I'm just like, oh my God, she's gonna fucking go up there and punch him dead ass in his shit, you know? Like, this bitch is an embarrassment. He's, who lets him out of the house? Like, he's, oh my God.
But see, he, and I guess that's actually kind of tapped into what I was saying earlier. He tapped into that segment of American society who feels like, you know, again, you know, real
Biff.
Americans, true
Yeah,
Americans,
he's Biff.
you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Need
Biff.
need to look this way. And
Mm-hmm.
apparently, you know, somebody who's East Asian, they don't quite look as American as they should. And the crazy thing about it is, and of course this is obvious, but everybody here, everybody who's ever come here has come from somewhere else. All the white people who have come here, they have their origins somewhere in Europe. Some people have their origins in Asia or South America or wherever, Africa, wherever. But we've all come from somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
It blows my, and here's the thing that as a Black person I find so funny all the time is that you have these people, the quote unquote real Americans, who will be proud to be, let's say, I don't know, German American, right? For example, my family came from, I don't know, Stuttgart way back in 1847, but we're real Americans now. Yet you continually go back and celebrate your European heritage, but you're a real American, and apparently I'm not quite as American as you want to be, apparently.
Right, while they're eating sausages on Oktoberfest, you know what I mean? With their steins in their hand.
Yeah, all the hyphen, German American, Irish American, Polish American, all these things. Again, I go back to the same thing where it's just, I feel like, if you think about it, I feel like I'm 100% American because my history, the history of my family, both sides of my family, really had to start again here. So everything that we know of is for better and most times for worse in the past is what American is, or what America was, it is now. So it just always amuses me whenever I see these white people who are just very proud of wherever their family was from. I'm sitting here for say an Irish person, for example. I know some people who are of Irish descent. One of them who went over to Ireland actually, and he came to find out that the people over there couldn't give two shits about his Irish heritage. They're like, "You're American, you're not Irish."
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, but I have the Shamrock hat, and I go to the parade. And like, no, you're American.
They don't care. They don't. Now that my ex used to do the Highland Games and all that, etc. And it was a big deal, his Scottish heritage and all that, etc., etc. Like, this is highly celebrated in a lot of those troops out there in Idaho. And it makes me wonder, why is that okay? But of course we know why it's okay. It's okay because they can fucking say it's okay, because they're the ones that make the rules. They're the ones that get to say that, so until they're no longer making the fucking rules, apparently those are the rules we gotta fucking play. I don't like it. Obviously, you know what I mean? I take a stand against it every fucking day of my life. Unfortunately, I happen to live under the rule of Biff, and until we, as a society, get a grip on these fucking Biffs and do something about them, then we're stuck. We're stuck playing the rules that they want to play by. We're stuck, what I mean, going back to 1954 when we, cross the fucking state line. We're stuck with the fucking president of the United States of America, telling an Asian fucking reporter to ask the Chinese, the embarrassing type shit that Barack Obama would never have fucking done to us. I can't even, but I swear to you, I sat there and said at that moment, I miss Barack Obama so fucking much. Like, he would never embarrass us like this in public. He would never do this to us. Like, I felt at that moment like somebody should have grabbed Trump up and said, wait until your father gets home, because he had just showed his ass at the grocery store for the last fucking time. You know what I mean? It really, that's what it reminds me of. It is a child with no filter throwing a fucking tantrum because he can, and it's disgusting. It's fucking disgusting. Like, I've never seen privilege waved in my face in such a fucking horrid fashion. It's vile. It's vile, and I've never been one to be a fan of privilege, but at this point, I'm anti-privilege to the point of, can we light him on fire? Can somebody do something about this fucking idiot before he embarrasses us any further and we're asked not to return to the grocery store, because this is not acceptable at all. I'm just, and so I tune in that night to what's the funny man on the late night? You know, the one with the glasses. You know, he took Jon Stewart's place, I believe. What the hell is that guy?
Colbert.
That's it, Colbert. So I tuned into Colbert thinking he's going to just hammer it. You know what I mean? No hammering. No, I was so disappointed. So Colbert, if you ever hear this, I want you to know I'm absolutely disappointed in the fact that you did not drill his ass for that. Like, you should have been all over that. I had 50 jokes in my pocket for you. So anyway, go ahead, BMan.
We've heard that term privilege a lot, especially in the past few years, whether it be male privilege, white privilege, and I think there's a misconception about, like, they're not far off. They're not far off. But I think like my definition of privilege is not so much what they can do, but rather the amount of scrutiny that they don't have to go under, you know, versus like someone like myself or someone like you, where, you know, again, to me, I think that if I were to, let's say, walk down the street, for example, and a white guy, let's say, you know, same age, same shape, whatever, he would not endure nearly the same amount of scrutiny. None, really. Unless it was a method up here, but up here, that's a possibility, but nevertheless. But like, you know, he wouldn't have to experience the same thing I'm experiencing. And I think that's where I think a lot of people get that term mixed up, because I think they're looking for like extra perks or extra, you know, things like that. But in reality,
they can walk down the street. They can walk down the street in the middle of the night and not be out of place. I'm a prostitute and you're a robber. You know what I mean? You feel me? That is privilege. That's privilege. That means you're the only one that belongs. Brian and I don't belong. We both have ulterior motives. Feel me?
Yeah. My old boss, the company that I work at now, we used to have this joke where he was Mexican, and we'd have this joke where when we go talk to customers, I told him one time, you know, I bet you that they think that you're mowing the grass and I'm smoking the grass. He's like, you know, Brian, family, you're right. You know, like, that's the reality of it is. You know, I mean, I remember there was one customer who I think at that point I was in charge of, at that point. And I'm sorry, no, I wasn't in charge. No, it was my boss at the time. He was white, and one of the foremen of one of the tree crews. He actually asked the guy, "Hey, is there somebody white that I can talk to?"
No, he didn't.
He did, yes. So
okay.
So what?
Thank you, Biff. We'll get you a white man immediately.
He actually sent me over there and just said, "Hey, just tell him you're in charge, right?" And just gauge his reaction. And here's why I have such a, I don't know if affinity is the right word, but there's certainly a commonality between myself and a lot of the Hispanic guys that I've worked with over the years, is that we've seen it like firsthand dozens of times where a customer may not be happy with talking to me, but at least not one of them, though. You know, at least I'm not one of them.
Exactly.
But in this case, the guy, he saw me coming up, and you could see on his face like, He's like,
not the
"Are you
black
in charge here?"
The black guy's in charge.
Yeah. Yes, I am. You know, and he's like, "Okay, well, these Mexican guys are blah 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 blah." He said that to me. Now, mind you, the whole crew, and this is one of the funnier things, is that the whole crew was from El Salvador, so they weren't even Mexican. You know, and they were all laughing at him because he told them, you know, he said that they were Mexican and they weren't, that's an inside joke. Well, anyways,
I'm sorry, they were El Salvadorian?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And so, you know, but I'll tell you, there have been so many incidents like that where a customer has wanted to talk to, first of all, somebody who is not Hispanic. That's the first thing. That's the first line. And then I'm, you know, the lesser of the two evils. But if there's a white guy there, it's like, oh, man, at least I can relate to you, man. Come here. Come on, you know. It's happened so many times in this job. It's it's comical the way that I see, usually around, maybe like middle-aged white guys,
Sure.
who will they just can't handle the idea of like not talking to another white guy who's in
Sure.
charge, you know.
Sure.
But I don't know where I'm going with that. I just had to relate to this.
No, it's totally okay, because you know what? I get that, but okay. On the same token, you know, I'm from the 20 side of things.
Mhm.
Imagine every time I step out of the house, you know what I mean? It's I'm the oddball. I'm the odd man out. I'm the exception to the rule. And especially when I open my mouth, because it's a whole different scenario. You know what I mean? It's I don't I don't behave and speak in the way that one would
Expect for that?
expect me to. Absolutely. That one would anticipate I'm going to, that one would, and I certainly don't react in the way that, that Biff and his party feel that I should act and think and react and, and be okay with, just like today, he's so fucking floored that oh my God, have you not seen this? Do you not? Well, yeah, but I also I have a brain, so that would be why I'm not subscribing to your whole fucking train of thought, there, buddy. It's but I get that reaction from both sides of things. It's I can remember I'm standing out, I'm standing out in the hood. This is back in my drinking days. When I used to carry my Tervis everywhere with me. And I had stopped by to see a friend of mine. His mama was out there. Okay. His name's Ronnie. And I'm just standing there talking to him. Well, his mama got a drinking problem. I got a drinking problem at this point. You know what I mean? So she say something to me, and I said, yes, ma'am, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I answered her, well, I guess she thought I was just going to fucking cower, like, because I'm the odd man out, I ain't finna say nothing, because she popped off at me, I answered right back, you know what I mean? And she's like, oh, this bitch bold. No, baby, I'm just answering you is what I'm doing. You walked up and popped off, so I'm gonna go ahead and pop right back off, regardless of what you think I'm finna do. I'm not gonna stand here and cower. I'm not gonna fucking, whatever it is that you think fucking white women do, that's not what I do. What I do is give you right back what you're giving to me, you know. So I mean, I get it on both ends of the spectrum, you know, but not really. Not really, because at the end of the day, all I got to do is, pick up the phone, and I'm the white chick in the hood. Everybody else is in some shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's still not the fucking same. And that's what I struggle to get these people to understand, is that I don't care. On your best fucking explanation day, you cannot tell me that it's the same, because I know it's not the same. I know that it's not the same. I lived in the fucking hood, at Fletcher and 15th, where there literally were gates and security to keep us in, not to keep people out. You know what I mean? It's not the same. It's not the same scenario, and it'll never be the same scenario, and you can't tell me that it is. You can't tell me that, your subdivided neighborhood is the same, you know, um, the same type of prejudice uh, is applied when the police roll up. It's not. You know what I mean? I've seen them roll up into my neighborhood and jump out, and it's ignorance from get. It's stupidity from get. It's which one of y'all did it from get. And that's unfucking acceptable to me. And every day I stand and say, this is not the way it's supposed to fucking be. This is not what these people signed up for. This is not what I signed up for. This is not what women, what black people, what fucking Hispanics, this is not what we signed up for, and whatever it is that y'all are using to justify standing on our fucking necks, something's got to give, because I quite frankly, you know, would like to be able to fucking walk down the street at night and not be presumed a prostitute or have to worry about somebody fucking jumping out the bushes at me, you know? And I believe that I tried to tell somebody the other day that it, it's not, it's not the giant black man that I fear, you know? I'll take him any fucking day of the week. You understand what I'm saying? Because when you get into serial rape, when you get into serial killing, who, who are these motherfuckers? Okay, they all look like Biff to me. You know what I mean? That's what I got to worry about. That's what I got to worry about coming through the window when I ain't paying attention. You feel me? And for it to cross race lines is fucking like a 7% chance, you know? So those are not the people that I worry about. I don't worry about any of that. I do worry about Biff feeling like he has the right to take something from me, you know, and be it my money, be it my body, be it my whatever, you know, he feels as though it's his entitlement to take from me. He feels as though it's his right to stand on my neck, to stand on your neck, to do whatever it is that he pleases. And I'm just not fucking okay with that. That's the whole reason people can ask a fucking bitch face, baby. You know what I mean? Because this shit is unacceptable.
You know, you make a good point as far as again, I find it just, I mean, it's not funny per se, but it's kind of amusing that you know, when let's say I'm walking down the street and people, as you mentioned, especially white women, like a lot of them are like nervous or afraid of me, right?
Oh,
The
Lord have
reality of it
mercy.
is, was that?
I said, Lord have mercy. Do they not understand? You are the last one they need to be frightened of.
Well, no, they don't, because for some reason, as you said, if you look at you know, the serial killers, the people who do the mass shootings, like 90 something percent of them are white. Usually
93%.
for the shootings, they tend to be on the younger side. But as far as serial killers, I mean, yeah, I mean, we've seen all of the most famous ones. If you think about it, they're all white.
Right. There are only three well-known black serial killers, and one of them, the Atlanta child killer, we don't believe is actually one. So that makes two. So that's two, honey. That's two out of hundreds.
And I think to myself, okay, but I'm the problem, really? Okay, I see.
Right.
I see.
And if these bitches would let me run the numbers down to them real quick, they would understand. You know, you're not the one to be feared. You understand what I'm saying? Just maybe because I'm a serial killer buff, you know, maybe that's why I understand that, you know, in my individual situation, it's not you that is my boogeyman. You're not my boogeyman, Brian. You know what I mean? Because first of all, I know you, and I know all I got to do is just, you know, tackle you right quick, and it's over with because you'll never see that left coming, you know. But but honestly, that's what is so offensive to me is that if you're going to hold and harbor that type of idiot ass opinion, run the fucking numbers down once, you stupid bitch, and you will see that's not your threat. Brian's not your threat. You know what I mean? Biff next door is your fucking threat. Run your numbers, bitch. Know what your threat is. Do an assessment. You know, just literally look at things with a granule of truth and you know, it's not difficult to figure out. It's not hard to figure out where your threat's coming from. In your subdivision, baby, you need to go on and fear the white man. You know what I mean? That's what your threat is. You know, now if you want to wander down into Fletcher and 15th, you know what I mean? Yeah, you probably got to worry about a crackhead because he's gonna sneak up on you and steal your purse. You know, but that's a whole different ball game. You know, it's still not your life. It's not you being tied to your fucking bedpost and fucking, you know, got pentagrams cut in your damn stomach and shit. You know, even the nastiest crackhead ain't finna do you like that. You know, you're worried about the wrong shit, bitch. That's what I want to shake these bitches and say. You're worried about the wrong shit. You got to fucking get this mentality off of you, and you can't seem to shake it, and that's disturbing to me. You know?
Who kills their wives more?
Oh,
Think
honey.
about it. You know what I mean?
I mean, we talking about, look, we talking about,
go.
listen, 3 a day, baby. 3 a day. They killing us at the rate of 3 a day. You know what I mean? And yet you bitches still can't see. You bitches can't see who these family annihilators are. You can't see who the fuck is, stuffing their kids in oil tanks and shit. You can't, you don't get it. You don't understand that what you think is the problem ain't the problem. And the only reason you think that's the problem is because Biff told you that's the problem. Stop listening to Biff, baby. That's the root of your problem. You know?
You know what? They do make good Lifetime movies. The Lacey
Oh,
Peterson
honey,
story, you know?
honey. Yeah, it's disturbing, isn't it? It's
It
fucking
is.
disturbing. And yet in these people's minds, they still and you know what got me was that, like, with the who's this fuck face that stuffed the babies in the damn Chris, whatever the fuck his name is, out there, stuffed the babies in the oil
Oh, the
tanks. Yeah, Chris
Colorado,
Watts.
yeah.
Chris Watts.
Yeah.
And how about laying the blame on the victim? Oh yeah, his wife choked the babies. His wife
Hmm.
strangled the babies, and then man, see, this is what I'm talking about. Biff did it, but yet Biff can assign blame to the victim, and we should all, take that into effect. That's you. What you got to do is understand, though, that Biff was under duress. No, Biff wasn't. No, Biff was not. Biff is a murderer. He's an
He
adulterer.
had
He's a fucking piece of shit.
yeah, he had that girl on the side, and they were going through some
And a dude.
marital issues and
And a
all that
dude.
other.
Yeah, he had a dude on the motherfucking side too.
Hmm.
This motherfucker nailing anything that moves.
Yep.
But yet when he's discovered, he can't be humiliated. He can't have his fucking shit aired out, and he don't want to pay no fucking child support. That's the problem. Biff don't want nobody in his money because sense of entitlement. That's my money. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. The day you go to try to hit a white man in the pocket is the day you got problems. So you know that's why when I left Corey, I walked out with nothing, Brian, for real. Like, I took my clothes, loaded them into my fucking Acura, and got the fuck out, because I knew better. I know what happens when you try to get in a white man's pocket. That's how you end up dead. You know what I mean? I'm not that dumb bitch. I'm on point. You feel me? And as much as I hate to say it, like, I know he's got it in him. He had it in him. He was a Marine. It would not surprise me one bit if I said, I want half of this, and he said, you can die. You know what I mean? It would not have. That's why it didn't even register to me to try to even stay there and fight. Cool. We ain't doing this. Let me get my shit. I'm gone. And I think that a part of me hates that I have to, as a woman, resign myself to that if I'm going to walk out of a relationship alive, I'm going to walk out with basically the shit that I have on my back at that point. You know, Otherwise, I run the risk of being the next bitch that they make a Lifetime movie about. And it's a sad reality, but it is a reality. It's the reality that women live with today. And not so much in the Black community, because shit, you know how it is. Y'all got enough going on. Y'all shit, like, you can't be a wife beater and be Black. You got too much drama at that point. That's too. You ain't gonna last long. I'm gonna tell you that.
That's true.
But and I think that's why people have the opinion that white women somehow cower down. We don't. We're just smarter than that. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna be stuffed in a fucking in an oil tank. I know better. Like, nah, I'm cool. Let me just go on and grab what I can grab, and let me get my handbag, baby, and I'm out. And you got to know the battles that you can win. And I'm gonna tell you right now that when you're dealing with people who have this sort of entitlements, and an entitlement clause apparently in their life, they can do it and get away with it, or they can do it and smear everything that was ever good about your name, if they are forced to deal with it. So, it's a sad truth, but it is the truth. It's you pick your battles. And I know that in these circumstances where am I going to be able to take half of this shit and still live? No, that's not my battle, because it's just not one that you can win. It's not. So,
And on that point, so one of the main um, sticks that these, you know, going their own way types use every time this argument comes up
mm-hmm.
is, okay, we don't, number one, we don't need feminism because everybody's equal now. Right, exactly. And that women have the power, like the power of the court is with the women, so therefore we're all
Oh,
equal now. Right.
mm,
You've seen those. I mean, come on, you've seen those
yeah.
on Core, right?
Mhm. Right.
And this ties into what we're talking about because again, we're getting back to this thing of the people who are in power. Anything that even resembles progress
Mm-hmm.
is a threat to them.
Yeah.
Equality looks like
They got to
oppression
squash
to
it.
them.
They got to
Right.
squash it.
And I ended up going along on what I just wrote. I'm gonna do it in a part 4, but I was going to get into um, some of the flags that I see, whether
Mm-hmm.
it be, you know, the rebel flag, the thin blue line flag, other
What
flags
is the
that
thin
are,
blue line? What is the thin blue line flag?
that is the flag to support the police. It looks,
Oh.
yeah, it's like a black with a thin blue line, essentially.
Oh.
Um, so, and specifically, I wanted to get in, and this is why I'm going to put it on to another part, because I wanted to get into the context of why those flags, why when I see those, I get worried.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, say, with the thin blue line flag, without, you know, just by itself supporting your local police in itself is not a bad idea, you know,
Yeah.
but it's the context of it. We didn't see those flags until Black Lives Matter's movement came into the forefront.
They were a
Basically,
knee-jerk reaction.
exactly. So
Mm-hmm.
I did some digging into the history of the rebel flag, and I mean I knew already that wasn't the official Confederate flag. This is the flag of the Army of Northern Virginia. But
Mm-hmm.
how it became how it became from just a flag of one particular army during the Civil War to what it means now was in large part a reaction to the beginning of the Civil Rights Movement. Again, a response. Somebody's trying to progress. There's a response. So that was, you know, that's kind of the correlation that I'm going to talk about. But it just it never ceases to amaze me that, you know, these people, as soon as there is just a modicum of, I guess this we're talking more about like protests, you know,
Sure.
immediately there has to be, as you said, has to be a response, a knee-jerk reaction to, oh no, we're going to stand firm. And then you think to yourself, wait a minute, but we're not talking about all the police. We're talking about specifically
No.
people, you know, the people who
Exactly.
go around killing unarmed Black men. But
Right.
instead, it's like, no, we're going to support all the police, all of them, just across the board.
It's a blanket. It's a blanket response to anything that might possibly mean that they have to own their actions, that they have to um, own the fact that their very existence is goddamn abusive at this point. You know, they are so used to being able to do, say, be any fucking thing they want to, that the very thought that somebody might restrict that in any way, shape, or form is so fucking offensive to them, you know, and that's what kills me. That, you know, that you're so, just because you done it this way doesn't make it the right way, you know. And you know, I just I cannot be uh I can't be okay with uh with supporting something because it's the way that it's been done. Because I can tell you right now, there's a whole lot of shit that I'm seeing done that ain't been done right up until this point, and still ain't fucking being done right. You know, um, I can't get down with the shit they're fucking laying down. You know, it's not. It's
You
not
know,
okay.
I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot, and I've actually answered a few questions on Quora about are people are people nostalgic for like the 50s, right? The 50s, the 60s. And I think we talked about it before, but I'm like, okay, so, and again, because they always see it through this rose-colored, lens, they think of,
Yeah, it's back when Mrs. Johnson would cook him dinner after he was done fucking his secretary on the desk, and and then he came home to a hot meal. Mrs. Johnson hadn't gotten a job yet and learned to fucking leave his stupid ass.
a
You know what
job.
I
What are you
mean?
talking about? A job? Man, no, no, no. We're not having that. They think about going to the
The
diners.
moment that
Go ahead.
oh yeah, oh yeah, they anything that upsets their ability to do and say as they fucking please, they just can't stand it. They can't they can't abide it, Brian. They can't abide it. And it's
And this
it's
this
disgusting.
this this view of like, let's say, you know, going to diners, the whites only diners, um, the jukeboxes, the Elvis and doo-wop groups and all this stuff. Yeah, for the certain segment of society, it was great. In the 60s, the same thing, Beach Boys and so on and so on. So on. Uh, but yeah, you have to close your eyes to so many other things around you in
Sure.
order to have this nostalgic view. And really, up until really the 60s and the 70s, when these civil rights movements, started gaining traction. And let's not forget, Jim Crow still existed until 1965. Okay, it was overruled in 1965. So uh,
It-
there is no period in history, whether it be 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s, whatever, that I am nostalgic for at all.
nor am I. Nor am
Exactly.
I. You want to know why? I like being able to fucking work and not have to get my ass whooped or have to allow my husband to fucking have affairs because I can't fucking pay my bills or have to have 9 babies. Or, I like actually being able to, the little bit of right that I'm afforded at this point, I like having those, Um, and even as the 80s. I mean, shit, in the 80s, it's still you were the oddity if you were a woman in college, especially in a STEM program. That was unheard of, you know. Um, it's we're not that far. Virginia Slim said in the 80s, we've come a long way, baby, but no, we haven't. No, the fuck we haven't. We've barely inched this far in our stilettos, love. Apparently you bitches don't know how to run in these. Follow my lead. you know, it's it's not it's not near enough. And I just every day I do my best to take it a little bit further, but it, you've got this. I mean, you see on the column, you've got these bitches that will brazenly, say, "Oh well, my husband." Da, da, da." Listen, bitch. Listen. At the end of the day, Biff is gonna side with Biff. Okay, so whatever it is that you think is happening, he ain't as pussy whipped as you think he is. Okay, trust me. At the end of the day, he's still out for him, not for y'all, for him. And don't get it tangled and twisted because you can end up in a fucking oil tank too. I'm sure Chris Watts' wife didn't think she was going to, but it's unfortunately the way that it goes down. So I just want to shake these bitches. I really, it's just, well, I mean, shit. Look at my reader that after how many years? 35 years of marriage.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now he's putting her out the fucking house. She got cancer. He's putting her out the fucking house. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like 35 years ago. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm sure she didn't think that was going to be, but here we are. Something threatened his money. You feel me?
Now, if I
And
remember correctly, uh, Was he also seeing someone else?
I'm not certain, but I've asked the question, and I believe so. Um,
I mean, it follows the
she's
pattern. I mean, you know.
well, she's still in a large portion of denial. Um, and unfortunately, you know, that it's going to be that way for a long time, you know, but and I don't want to be the one bride that says, "Listen, bitch, pay attention." You know what I mean? This is you don't just wake up one day, you know, and all of a sudden your what's been good enough up until this point is no longer good enough. There's a serious change that has taken place that has, you know, dispelled, you know, what everybody believed to be a happy home. You know, so what is the major life change that has occurred? You know, and if you can't tell me what it is because it's visible on him, then it's something he's hiding from you. You know, so do a little bit of homework. Let's have some sense about it. And I don't want to say that, you know, because I understand that I think right now she's holding on to the little bit of sanity that she has left, you know, as far as with her health and with the, you know, and I mean, Brian, she's gonna be a 65-year-old woman who cannot support herself, who has never supported herself, you know, and that I mean, she's telling me, you know, about her Social Security, what they give her for disability, which is well below the poverty level, you know, and I'm telling her, you know, well, I mean, what you need to do is find a studio apartment, one that has your utilities included, you know. Ask me how I know this. You know what I mean? This is a scenario that any woman who has ever had to pick up and go, you know, in a situation where it merits grabbing that go bag and going, knows this shit. You know, we've well researched it. You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, I think these places exist just for us. You know, it's something that if you've ever had to sit down and think about it, you've got a pocket full of go-tos. You got a pocket full of resources, just like this. You know, and it really it surprised me, I think, to know that she didn't know shit like that. But then again, I guess if I'd never had to take care of myself, if I've never had to doubt my marriage, if I've never had to think about walking out in 35 years, I wouldn't know shit like that either. You know, so um, but I told her, you know, I said, what you need to do, you know, is be very careful because you're entering a point where shit changes, you know, where the dude that you've been dealing with is not the dude that you're dealing with. You know what I mean? Because once you go in his pocket, it's a whole different fucking ball game. And I tried to fucking convey this to her, you know, in the most diplomatic way possible. But there's some shit that you just can't say in a diplomatic way, you know, which is, bitch, he will cut your head off if you try to take half of his fucking retirement, you know, and that's exactly what he knows is coming. And I'm telling you, women have ended up in a ditch for less, you know, so I think that she needs to watch herself. I really do. And, you know, if you're listening to me, you know who you are. And I just, please be careful, you know, please, but know that Brian and I both are aware of your situation. So if something does happen, we will let somebody know, you know, but you got to be careful. You got to be careful because this is a whole, this is a whole different ball game that you're playing with now. And you ain't, this ain't baseball no more, baby. You on a whole different court now, you know, so, um, anyway, that being said, so here's my other topic I want to bring to the table tonight, Brian. This crazy ass doomsday cult bitch, Lori, what is her name? Lori Vallow? Okay. They had a 48 hours or whatever on it, and they're going crazy on Reddit about this bitch. Okay. All the Reddit sleuths are on it. So, you know, it'll only be a matter of time before the shit's solved because Reddit will solve some shit for you. But this bitch, Brian, they talked to okay, the boy was autistic. Okay, her son, autistic, had a service dog. All right. Now, you know, this is where it got my attention. Okay. This fucking bitch returned the baby's service dog 3 weeks before the child disappeared. Now, you fucking tell me that's not premeditated. That is premeditating killing your kids. This nasty bitch. So then in the 48 hours or whatever it is, they show footage from this storage unit, right? These these cold-blooded motherfuckers come walking out the damn storage unit, Brian, I shit you not, with big ass duffel bags that men are having trouble carrying. Okay, what do you think was in them? They got film of the kids being there a couple days prior.
Mhm.
That's the last that anybody saw those kids. So now they are talking about how they think that they took them out into Yellowstone. But you know, there ain't nothing left of them kids if they was out there in Yellowstone. There ain't a damn thing left because coyotes gnaw them bones down damn dust. You know what I mean? Shit, give Puffin a damn bone right now in 5 minutes. You won't have evidence of shit. You won't even be able to pull DNA out her damn mouth, okay? Like, and she's a dog, you know? Like, so man, that it hit me hard though whenever they said that she took the baby's damn service dog back. I said, you got to be fucking kidding me. This bitch knew what she was fixing to do, you know, because you know, for you and not only that, but the boy's medication, I guess, it was like months since he had been, if they go by the prescription, it was months since it had been filled, and there were like 18 remaining when there should have been like 3 or some shit like that. So basically, you know, if you go just by the fucking prescription medication, you know, she had killed those children, you know, however long, you know, prior to anybody even suspecting what was going on. So I mean, this bitch for real, like for real.
What's the theory on, or any theories on the motive?
Okay, I'll tell you. Here's the thing. So the Doomsday Cultists, okay, they apparently gave a rating, in a score, as far as what the survival rate would be for each person in the cult, in the Doomsday Cult, and if they would be allowed, you know, for lack of a better terminology, back in the mothership, you know. Her daughter, which is the other missing child, was rated a 4.1 by the cult, which is a D, which
Out
the
of
D stands
10?
for dark. I'm sorry?
Out of 10? Or
Yeah, out of 10. So
okay.
that makes it a D grade, which stands for dark. So they, that's what I believe right there is the Doomsday Cult had graded the children, not, you know, and with the boy being autistic, I'm going to presume that would make his score even lower, you know. Um, so apparently they were too large of a liability to be allowed back on the mothership or whatever the fuck these strange ass people believe. But it's yet another case of religion, you know. You know how these fucking zealots are, man. They are to the bone with it. You know what I mean? Like they it's their hill to die on for sure. You know, so like this is absurd to me, but I just cannot fucking believe. And I mean, this bitch, she ain't gonna say nothing either, Brian. She's really not going to. And I mean, I gotta give it to her, dude. She knows how to keep herself from getting that needle because the second she opens her mouth, she's getting a fucking needle. You know, and I mean, with all rights, because if anybody deserves the death penalty, it's this bitch. She premeditated killing her fucking kids. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that shit. You can't tell me you take a child's service dog back and you don't know you're fixing to kill that baby. You know, and this is 3 weeks, Brian. 3 fucking weeks. Not only that, but add up all the other dead people around these people. The brother, the ex-husband, the wife, you know, like now that's what I think is gonna end up getting her ass the needle is they will link him to that dead wife somehow, and then he's gonna spill the fucking beans, you know. Um, I foresee that. So let's write this down. Is they are going to link him to that dead wife, and then he's gonna tell it all, you know. And it doesn't really matter though, because by the time they go to try to find them kids, coyotes will have already chewed all that evidence up. There ain't gonna be nothing left of them babies, you know. So that's unfortunately that's the reality of the situation.
Another
Yeah.
group of religious wackos, man. I tell you.
Yeah, where do these fucking doomsday cults keep coming from? Have we not dispelled this bullshit by now? Like, we're going into space, motherfuckers. Just wait your turn. Wait your fucking turn. In 3 years, Elon Musk will send everybody. Okay, you ain't got to form a cult and wear Nike
Him,
Cortezes to get
him,
there. Okay,
Elon Musk getting and his new kid, 7, 8,
you
12
damn right.
X plus V squared.
Exactly. Exactly. So you can ride with the new kid, okay? So just chill. Wait your turn. You ain't got to kill your kids and shit for it. Like, what's wrong with
So
these motherfuckers, man?
a few years ago, I actually did. I was really into like learning about all these. I guess they're the more famous religious cults and kind of like
Oh
how
yes.
in the world they work. You know.
I have an
Um,
affinity for those as well, Brian.
so the ones that I remember distinctly, I mean, one was the Heaven's Gate guy that create those like humongous eyes.
The
It was
Nike
that dude.
Cortezes. Nike
It was
Cortezes.
Jonestown, obviously.
Uh-huh.
There were, Branch Davidians, and
Right?
one, and what's that dude? The Utah guy, the Warren Jeffs,
Uh
the
yeah,
fundamentalist
yeah,
Mormon
the
guy.
LD, LDS, LD, whatever.
Yeah, and Sister Wives and all that shit.
Oh yeah.
But
You mean raping children? Yes. The
yeah.
child rapists. Yeah.
So some of the common threads I've seen with those is that the leaders themselves are very charismatic people, and they, sociopathically so, and
Hmm.
they have this ability to just like an abuser, they have this ability to, read and seek out these like vulnerable, impressionable people who will just believe whatever you tell them. If you drink this
They're
Kool-Aid,
they're the
everything's gonna be,
wolves. Yeah, they're the wolves of society. They can smell the weakness. They
Mhm.
know who they can pick out of the herd. They know exactly where it hurts, and they know where to push. You know. Hmm.
So, uh, Manson, I mean, he had all
Oh
those
yeah.
girls kill for him.
Uh huh.
He didn't have to do it himself,
Nope. Didn't even have
Um,
to lift a finger.
no, not at all. But so, I mean, obviously, I can't relate, thank goodness. But
Thank God.
there's something to this, ability to like find these vulnerable, impressionable people,
Uh huh.
that is, I don't know if I'd call it like supernatural, but it's like it's very intuitive. And the fact that they're
It
able to
is.
convince them to all, live far away from society, have this like, quote unquote kind of communal feel where it's a coincidence every single time, but he manages to have sex with so many of the women, but it's just a coincidence, don't.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, you nailed it. You nailed it
um,
when you likened it to an abuser,
yeah.
because it is exactly what an abuser does. He will he it's like they're heat seeking missiles, okay? And what they actually seek out is your area of weakness. And it's like they have a script that if you answer A, okay, let's move on to question two. If you answer B, oh no, this bitch, she got a mind of her own. She got to go. You know, um, you know what I mean? It's they know what vulnerabilities will allow them to manipulate that person entirely. You know, um, it. They a lot of people question, oh well, why do these women, who have abusive backgrounds, they it's just like they attract, just like I say, I only attract bad guys, but I don't. What it is they see a particular vulnerability in me, which mine is I have daddy issues, obviously. um you know and a lot of women, it's unfortunately in our society that's just the nature of the beast. um but until you recognize the problem in yourself, you are vulnerable to that type of asshole. you know and these people are just that type of asshole times 20. you know they now what gets me are the guys that fall victim to these guys. You know, not with the LDS so much, because they got to live like fucking kings, you know, and be married to 13 teenage women and, you know, whatever, or whatever the case may fucking be. But like, who were let's go with the Branch Davidians.
Mm-hmm.
None of those other dudes are knocking off teenage girls. It's just fucking David Koresh. You know what I mean? Same with Jonestown, you know? Who are these motherfucking dudes that are okay with this shit? That are okay, you know, being beaten in front of, you know, 600 other cult members that are, who the fuck are these dudes that are laying down to these motherfuckers?
Well, I think if you look into their own family history, I think that you'll find that they themselves were abused in all manners. You know, let's say, or perhaps the father wasn't there. You know, like there's always an underlying story of
Abuse
trauma.
issue.
I think with anybody who gets involved in these cults, including the leaders themselves. Honestly, you know. But I think for like the followers, the acolytes, yeah, there always seems to be a history of trauma of some sort where they're seeking like a strong figure, a father figure, a leader, you know, somebody to guide them because they can't really do it themselves, you know. And as you said, if that leader sees that, you know, and pinpoints that, gives them what they crave, and you got yourself a follower who will do anything that you ask
Exactly.
them,
You've created a fucking monster. Yep.
There you go.
It's frightening. Now, what I was wondering is with this Valo bitch is, you know, how in the absolute hell though? Because even in the situations where these cult members are giving their daughters to the leaders and blase squaze, you don't see them out here killing their kids though. You know, that's the point when the damn feds is coming through the door, you know, that because they even, you know, even at that point, like they're still, you know, in their mind mentally, except for, well, let's look at Jonestown. I mean, hell, they lined them kids up quick though, didn't they? You know what I mean? So I guess, yeah, it's not, but you don't see it as often. You don't see it as often, especially with the religious cults, because they place such value on the family unit, you know, and they're one large family, and which is how they get all these LDS women to submit, you know, is family ties, family bonds, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, so I don't know, but whatever type of fucking spaceship they think they're getting into, she getting a needle before she gets on that motherfucker for sure, because he's gonna bitch up. He's gonna bitch up. They'll find something, you know, find something that ties him to. I think they're beyond the point of exhumation and all that shit. Like somebody's gonna give something up, and he's gonna squeal like a fucking piggy the whole way down to the damn death row, you know, and she gonna be done with, you know. But I mean, listen, this bitch has got to be the smartest fucking murderer ever, because there ain't a fucking trace to be found. Nobody's seen nothing. Nobody knows nothing. Nobody. I mean, this bitch for real. That's a plotting fucking genius. All right, we need her doing our wartime strategies, because this bitch, like for real, this is a sinister type of motherfucker right here. Like listen, can't nobody murder like this bitch can. For real. Like,
one other aspect of all these cults is that, you know, okay, we see how how seriously some people take their religious beliefs, like to a degree that is like well beyond anything I can understand, you know. Now just imagine all that.
They got shoe bombs on.
You know, right. So imagine all that energy devoted to the cult. Like if you take all that energy, I can see how you know how that can work there. I'm far too cynical, I think, to sit here and say, so like, okay, so this is for example, okay, so you're saying that if I give you my 13-year-old daughter you're going to allow me to go on the spaceship and have, I don't know.
So let me see the spaceship, nigga.
Like, hold up. Let me holler at you right quick. Come on,
I need to know what my fucking seat number is, bitch.
You know,
I can hear you now, B-Man. B-Man's like, hey, man, until I see the fucking ticket printed, I don't believe shit you're trying to tell me, because my mama said you can fucking tell me anything, all right?
Like, I will
My mama
need to
ain't
see
raised
some
no fool.
evidence. I will need to see some evidence. That is,
Listen,
I'm gonna give you what I got.
I ain't sitting in no aisle seat, okay? So you're gonna have to show me my window seat before I give you my 13-year-old, okay?
First of all, I will be in first class. There, you know, I'm not doing that old coach.
I want them
That is
free
not gonna work.
drinks. I want them free drinks.
You bet. Give me that purple drink. Come on, let's go. You know, but Jesus.
You already know. You already know.
But again, it's like, you know, I could say that I feel like I'd be too smart, but also I would just question too many things. You know, there were too many things that don't add up logically, and that's honestly why I find religion in general to be odd in many places. I mean, I grew up in a, you know, Baptist household, but it was always odd to me that they were, you know, whether it be the grandparents, the parents, are always convinced that this was the only true path. And I'm thinking to myself, well, so if you guys are convinced that this is the true path, and then this other church, I don't know, Methodist or whatever,
right.
Presbyterians, Catholics, whatever, are convinced that that's always the true path. How many true paths are there?
Absolutely.
I don't know.
And
you know,
and that's the difference between us and them, Brian, is that we apply analytical thought to our daily processes, whereas these other people are so ready for somebody to think for them, to you know, to puzzle out the mystery of life for them. Whereas, you know, you can't do Chinese checkers the way I do Chinese checkers, bruh. This is my own Chinese checkers that I got going on over here, you know, and you ain't finna mess up my board. You know, this is how I'm doing shit over here. You feel me? You
faith
know,
and logic, they don't really go together.
they
Really
don't mix. They don't
No.
mix. No, they, as a matter of fact, they are so offsetting to one another. That's why we have the religion versus science argument that we've had going on since, you know, the Scopes monkey trials. You know, but this is honestly, this is one of the more disgusting and despicable cases of it. Now, some of them I've almost been able to feel some sort of pity for the people, you know. Oh, well, this woman didn't really have a choice, you know. Her husband, that's her main supporter, you know, whatever, blah blah blah. She's saddled with 4 kids. He says they're going there. What choice does she have, you know, blah blah blah. But this is not one of those fucking scenarios. This bitch has married, 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 married. Okay, she has steadily married up. Okay, you can look at the bitch and tell what she's about. Honestly, that's a Karen if I've ever seen a fucking Karen. Oh, honey, that's a Karen all motherfucking day long. All right. Funny that she married a Chad. You know what I mean? But it is.
It's already pre-written.
It's exactly like, this is destined, bitch. No wonder you think you're getting on a spaceship. But what gets me is the fact that, you know, with all of this. Now, listen, we have put, you know, especially drug offenders, you know, women who don't have any resources, who don't have any means, and are suspected of child abuse or, you know, whatever. I've seen these bitches go down for life for way less. They've got, you know, these people carrying fucking duffel bags out. They've got this bitch, you know, that to me is way more circumstantial evidence than I've seen some of these bitches who don't have means hung on, you know. You get where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
Because they can't afford a defense, because they didn't fucking you know, drive a Benz into the county jail, you know. They aren't afforded the same rights to circumstantial evidence as this dirty bitch is, You know, I mean, listen, I'm gonna tell you, and they gave her a fucking $1 million bond, which I'm gonna tell you what, if that crazy ass doomsday cult comes up with that fucking bond, you will never see that bitch again. That bitch gone. Okay, that bitch gone. She gone to fucking Costa Rica for fucking facial surgery, and then it's over with. You'll never see her. For real. You know, she'll have her fucking fingerprints redone as soon as she crossed the fucking Mexican border. You know? So, like, I really, if it were me, my main concern would be revoke this bitch's bond immediately. You know what I mean? I don't care if it's $1 million or not. Them crazy ass fuckers on a spaceship going to find a way to get it. They'll go to Mars. They'll get some Mars dust or whatever the hell is worth some money to these Fruit Loops, you know, and it'll be on, you know, because I mean, she's got a needle coming for sure. You know, it's just all in when somebody spills it. So, and I really do think it's going to end up coming from dude. You know, they're going to try to hammer dude with all the death, you know, and he's gonna be like, nah, bitch, I just killed my wife. You know what I mean? I knocked my wife off. You know what I mean? But I didn't kill these other motherfuckers. That was all that crazy bitch. You know, so
what I would do is I would, imply that he was responsible for other people, and like, no, I just killed my wife. That's it. It's just
exactly.
You know,
I just had to get her out the way. You know, but these other motherfuckers didn't mean nothing to me. You know, so and I mean, I really do see it going down like that, only because the script has been so played out prior. You know, and I mean, people are predictable. They really are. And you know, if this scenario, um, you know, were presented to me, even with different players, I'm still going to think the same thing. This bitch premeditated her kid's death. She had her brother kill her ex-husband, who was questioning her keeping the daughter away from him, which was her taking the kids off the grid to begin with, which was her way of, you know what I mean? And that's how it all starts going downhill. The second there's no witnesses, you know, and I really feel like that's what it was. She had to get rid of the people that were witnesses to what she was going to do, you know. So
what's the name of the cult?
Shit, I don't know the name of the cult. Do I have that in my notes? I sure don't. I know that the dude had done a podcast, and the podcast has actually disassociated themselves with him. They basically said, "Listen, we ain't got nothing to do with what this crazy son of a bitch is talking about, and we don't know that whore either." You know, so they were like, "Nah, we out, dog." we get, you know, we let him speak in the mic a couple times, but that was it. That's all we did. Then we changed the mic cover. You know, um, so I know that you know, they have shaken the affiliation with him. I know he's got a couple of books that 2 or 3 books that he had co-authored. You know, and but apparently it's a scenario where they have a rating system as to who's going to get on the ship and who ain't. You know, so apparently it's some sort of loose organization.
With limited seating, apparently.
I mean, if you're going to get that fucking window seat, bub, you might as well go on and get that daughter ready, because they ain't got too many of them, kid. So, you know.
Where were they located?
Now, I know she's out of Idaho. Lori Vallow, Vallow. It's her name. He is Chad something or other. But as soon as you put Lori in, it comes up Lori Laughlin, then Lori Vallow. So apparently those two crazy whores are the ones that are making the news these days.
Okay, Lori Vallow. Mm-hmm. Oh, you know what? I do remember from a while back. Yeah, this would have been like a few months back. Yeah, she was blonde, wasn't she?
Yeah, she's the one that ran to Hawaii. She wouldn't produce the kids.
Okay.
Yep, that's her.
Okay.
That's
so
her.
It's
so
okay.
There's
that makes
14 years, 14 years total on the charges that she's being faced with, which is abandonment of her children, and also failure to support or whatever. 14 years total she can get for those charges. She's willing to take them fucking 14 years. So you know she can't produce them kids. You know what I mean? If you'll eat a 14-year sentence, bitch, you know you got a needle coming.
I remember when they found her in Hawaii, and I guess it kind of got off my radar a bit, precisely because they haven't found the kids yet. But I recall, yeah, it would have been a few months ago when I saw that story come out, and I'm like, oh, she did some shit, man.
Oh yeah, she did. Yeah, she did. And she that what is killing me is the fact that they have got this video of these people, these men, grown men, Brian, your size, okay, toting these duffel bags that are like military style, duffels out, and it is obvious in the video that it's so fucking heavy these men can barely carry these duffel bags. That's a body in there, baby. That's a body. Okay, what the fuck else are you going to shove? Oh, and then they found the children's belongings, kids' toys, the daughter's photo album. I mean, things that these kids aren't going to be just parting with for no damn reason in this storage unit. So basically, she had loaded up all her kids' shit and put it in this storage, and apparently she loaded the fucking kids up with it. Well, there's video of surveillance video from the storage of the kids being at the storage, some days prior or weeks prior to the carrying out of the duffel bags, and that is the actual last footage that anybody has of the kids, the last confirmed sighting of them. So this bitch for real done did it. Like but she still, until somebody says something, they have apparently, she's got the means, the resources to not have circumstantial evidence stacked against her the way it does against people without means.
Now you said Idaho, right?
Idaho.
I'm gonna tell you this. Idaho is a state that I never want to go to. Between the religious nut jobs, her,
militias,
Ruby Ridge, between them and all those white nationalist groups up there.
Oh yeah.
Like, I'll eat your potato, but that's about it. I got no
all
interest
they're growing in Idaho, outside of Idaho spuds, is homegrown terrorism. You know what I mean? That is all that they are growing up there. Like it's like Idaho is the place to go if you want to, try to accumulate a whole lot of firepower and take over the government. If you want to find some religious reason to kill everybody you know, or if you want to, say, throw your kids' bodies in the Yellowstone National Forest and get away with murder. You can do all of that in Idaho. Idaho really, it offers something for everyone, so you gotta get on the Idaho train. You gotta get on the Idaho train. Okay, listen, check this out. I can do their next fucking commercial. Visit Idaho. We'll give you a place to bury them kids. Visit Idaho. We'll let you wear your swastika mask in the Target around here. Visit Idaho.
You know what? You can buy the mask at the Target. How about that? Come on down, right?
You did right, you can. Where you think they was getting the swastika mask from, girl? Right down there to the Target in Idaho. Listen, okay, I'm gonna do the next Visit Idaho commercial because, damn it, I got a pocket full of these bitches. All right, I really do. Like, I'm just gonna think on it for a couple days, and give me 2 days. I have 50 of them. You know what I mean? Like, this is nonsense to me. I don't know what is happening in Idaho. I don't really know what the whole consensus is, that bitches start to think that shit like this is okay in Idaho. But whatever it is, I don't want to drink the water. I'm real concerned about eating potatoes at this point, because I think maybe we might want to avoid. Don't eat no French fries, Brian. Don't do it. They something in them things.
Like this whole part of the country, the certain parts of the Pacific Northwest are great hideaways for people who want to just get away from everything, stay off the grid.
You know what the percentage of serial killers is that come from the PNW, right?
Oh, I can think about like at least like what 3, 4, 5 off the top of my head right now. Yeah, and they're all from.
It's about 60-40. 60-40, they come from the PNW. So out of the other 46 states, you know what I mean? That's where you got your other 40%. You know,
Yeah, 'cause I'm
outside of that,
thinking, yeah, Lundy, Green River, PT. Yeah, some
well,
of these
they also
are from up there. Yeah, you're right.
include Northern California. So you've got
Yeah.
Lake and Ing, you've got Happy Face Killer, Jesperson, you've got let's see, Green River, you've got I mean, I can keep them coming, B. I can keep them coming. You know,
I
I've
could
done my
imagine.
research there. So you know, it is it's a haven for the fucking weirdos and murderers. Um, and you wonder why I worry every day. It's listen, if anybody draws a happy face on anything you got, get the fuck out of there. Okay. If let's see, if oh, and this other shit they got going on, this what is it? The where all these college guys are disappearing and then showing up murdered. Um and they all for some fucking strange reason end up in the water. Okay. Like there was a guy that disappeared from a bar in Chicago
Mhm.
or Indianapolis, um, ends up in like 2 foot of water, drowned. They find him a week later. Okay. Um, one disappears from a festival in Michigan, find him in 2 foot of water, drowned. Um, you know, I mean, and there's like fucking 50 or 60 cases of this shit, Brian. So now my crazy thread on Reddit, my missing 411, where you know, people go missing in the woods and basically their shoes turn up and you know they're never seen again, except for the little boy that was in the cave with his monster wearing his grandma's mask, or babies end up on a cliff 80 miles away and it's you know 200 foot up. Um, like this is for real crazy. But this is also happening out there in the PNW a lot. But they're trying to, the missing 411 thread is trying to liken these serial killings of these college guys to the missing 411 cases, because apparently it occurs a lot of times. You know, the people will show back up, but they are dead from crazy reasons, you know, or they will have some a meal in them that there's no fucking way that they could have had in the woods in this time period that they've been gone. You know, I mean, just crazy ass shit that don't make no sense. And this is what's going on with these college guys that are disappearing. I mean, these are guys that are your size B, you know, that okay, first off, listen, I don't care what the fuck goes down. I got my money on you. You know what I mean? Because you're going to give it a hell of a motherfucking fight, you know? And I mean, shit, I would, you know? And there's a whole 5'2" of me, you know, but it's, these guys apparently are just laying down and taking. In a lot of the situations, yeah, there's alcohol involved, but, you know, witnesses are saying, no, he wasn't, you know, blasted drunk. He wasn't, you know, I mean, he was maintaining, you know what I mean? And I just, you know, as a former heavy drinker, I can tell you that, honey, I've been able to fucking maintain, you know what I mean? Even when I didn't look like I could maintain, I could still fucking maintain, you know? So, I mean, that to me doesn't, it says nothing to me about what's going on. I mean, it's a crazy scenario. It's like literally 50 or 60 fucking cases at this point. So,
Well, there are, at least to the people up here, there are some like little infamous little towns where you don't go by yourself. Um,
Eugene, Eugene being one of them.
there was when I was working in Oregon, there was a town called Wolf Creek that I had. There's I think there's like one or two gas stations there. It's pretty small, but the guy at the gas station, he flat out told me like, look, you know, I don't mean any offense to you, but like somebody like you don't want to be here after dark. You know, like after the sun sets, you don't want to be here. This was Wolf Creek, Oregon, and
Wow.
yeah, and I mean, you know, at first I was like, what the hell are you talking about? But I could tell he was trying to like give me a heads up, like, dude, I'm just telling you don't want to be here. Like he told me that there was one black guy who went up there and he stayed there after dark and they never saw him again. You know, I've heard so many stories from locals there, Amador County in California here, Happy Camp, which is it's Happy Camp is Like it's between the coast and I-5. North of the Klamath River, it's like it's nowhere. It's in the middle of nowhere whatsoever. But there's always rumors over there like you don't leave your truck out of eyesight. Don't leave your equipment out of eyesight because it'll be gone and you'll be stuck there and people disappear there, you know.
That is
All
to
kinds of
me,
stories, man.
that to me, you know, it's okay. It seems like to me that um in an area where it's well known that you don't want to be a woman walking the stroll, because chances are you're going to end up with your head cut off, and half your body parts in one river and half in the other. So you know you got that problem. You apparently cannot be a black man and be there. So who I'd like to see their crime statistics. I'd like to see how they skew those numbers, because that says to me that you have an area of at least 5 states where Biff is the only criminal. Biff is all that's bad out there, and yet um, you're the problem. You're the problem when you show up. Explain that to me. Please explain that to
I'm an
me.
outsider. That's what it comes down to. I'm an outsider. I don't belong there. Therefore, as an outsider, I am the problem. Despite the
Well,
fact that
as a woman
uh,
with a head attached, I'm glad I'm an outsider. So
right. But honestly, there's so few people up there that literally anybody who's not a local, who they don't know, is an outsider. What are you doing here? You know, why are you in town? I've had people like literally come up to my truck and ask me point blank, like, what are you doing here? Like, why are you here? And I have to tell them, well, first of all, I have the logos in my truck. You know, I work for Davey. I'm with up there. I guess that would have been Pacific Power up there. You know, I'm with Pacific Power. I'm just patrolling the lines. You know, like, okay, you know, like you passed the test.
entitlement,
You know,
entitlements.
but if I didn't have any logos or didn't have a safety vest or whatever it is, who knows? You know, I don't want to know. Never mind. I don't want to know. But you know, like
No, don't go there. Don't entertain the thought.
that's how it is up there. It's so isolated. Like even where I live, I'm like 2.5 hours away from Sacramento, north. Um, and then so we're already pretty isolated from most things to begin with.
Yeah.
But at least we're right along I-5, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do this every single week. I jump on 5, head down, spend a week down south, come back up, you know. Once you get north of Reading, and then if you just draw a horizontal line, everything north to about maybe Medford, Oregon,
Is Looney
Ashland, Medford,
Tuneville.
Oregon, it's just
Looney Tuneville.
nothing
Yep.
whatsoever. So one of those, not in the one I just posted, but the previous thing, the story about one of my female coworkers. Yeah, she was along the Klamath River, and I know the spot now. I didn't know it before, but yeah, that spot is you won't see another soul for like miles. There might be like one property here, probably a marijuana grow, then another property over there. But yeah, you'll see maybe 1 or 2 people a day up there. And mind you, we're still in the middle of the state, or in the middle. We're not on the coast yet, and on the coast you got the Emerald Triangle, which is a whole different deal altogether. People over there in Humboldt County and stuff. That's
Yeah.
that's a very strange place. I've had to go up there a number of times, and yeah, it's
The let's not meet, the real scary let's not meet that I sent to you, with the guy had come into the dude's house and he had to hide himself in the attic because the dude ran up the stairs. You remember that one?
Yeah.
That was in Humboldt.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So this is what I associate with that whole area, you know. And I mean, okay, the other day there was a let's not meet that oh my God. So okay, so guy is solo camping in Oregon. Okay. Does it a lot. He's former military, blah, blah, blah. You know how it is, the gung-hos that, camping is life, whatever. They did the Appalachian Trail fucking barefoot or whatever, So guy is out on a solo camp. He's on his third day in, and he's in his tent and zipped up and all that shit. Here's something outside of his tent, opens it up, and there is a dude sitting next to where his fire was. And dude immediately says, "What the fuck are you doing?" And the guy, who had no camping equipment, no pack, no nothing, says to him, "Oh, well, I just wanted to know how to get to, so-and-so spot." And guy is like floored. He's like, okay, well, I don't know where the fuck that is. He said it wasn't even a familiar name to him. He thought the dude was just off his dome, So dude leaves. Guy somehow, manages to doze a little bit. But as soon as the sun comes up, he's like, "This is too fucking weird. I'm getting out of here." Okay. Well, as he is heading back, now mind you, he's 3 days in, as he's heading back, the guy keeps hearing random shit all day that is not animals, and he's just like, "Yeah, I'm being watched," So the next night, as he is bedded down, trying to rest, who in the motherfuck is behind a tree that he shines his big ass, however many lumens flashlight on, but this same fucking dude, who there's no way in hell this dude could have ended up in the same spot, because it's not off a trail. It's a homeboy is for real Rambo hiking. You know what I mean? Dude literally had to have been following him the entire day to be where he is, So he's basically being hunted in the woods in Oregon at this point. Still no pack. No, how in the fuck is this dude? So everybody on Reddit's just like, "Ah, it's a fucking skinwalker," whatever. No, it's a geeker. Okay, that's what it is. The dude has obviously got either a grow up or whatever happening out there, and he's, gonna fucking kill this dude if dude gets near it. But dude said that he basically was like, "Fuck this, I don't need rest. I'm hoofing the rest of the way out," whatever. I mean, like, insanity to me. It's insanity, the craziness that takes place up there. I cannot imagine how many people actually go missing in those areas that nobody ever knows about. I mean, it's an absolute possibility that there are thousands of them. It's just like this bitch that dropped her kids in Yellowstone. How many people have done that prior to this broad?
I can tell you from personal experience, having hiked up there many times in my job, it would be so easy to just disappear. Mm-hmm. I've been in places mm-hmm. where, like, I realized, like, I guess I was thinking negatively. I'm like, dude, if let's say, I don't know, I broke my leg or something like that, like, there's nobody ever, like, nobody would find me for however many days, weeks, who knows?
Years.
Years. Yeah, I mean, really.
And if the coyotes got there, nobody'd ever find anything.
Yeah. So it would be very easy. Very, very easy.
That bothers me.
I mean,
that's worrisome to me, because when I was reading this, that "Let's Not Meet" with the dude stalking this dude in the woods, I'm just thinking to myself, this is what Brian is out in every single fucking day, and for it to be so easy, and for there to be so many, I mean, there's so many fucking stories on that thread, Brian. So many, hundreds of them. Like the one with the night vision, the chick with the night vision, and the dude that was, and I mean, just hundreds of these stories. And they're all different fucking weirdos. They're all different nut jobs. How many fucking weirdos can there possibly be? It's like,
well, I've stumbled across marijuana grows in places that I thought nobody lived at all. But let's say, behind this, like this hill or down in this ridge, suddenly you run across an entire grove. You got the fences, and really the only way to see them is from the air. Otherwise, if you just come up to it, you wouldn't know, because some of them are
And
so
it's
well
too late.
disguised.
And it's too fucking late.
Yeah. But if I'm like following the overhead transmission line, for example, I'm just following, and that I have my computer with me, my like $40,000 PG&E computer. I'm following the line. I'm following the tower numbers, and then suddenly I run across this, and I'm just, huh,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
it happens a lot.
And
I'll tell you.
with you standing out there looking official, with your
Yeah.
badge and with you, what that, like that to me is a major fucking concern. Because guess what geekers hate? Anything official. You know what I mean? Because in their geeked out minds, that, oh my God, this motherfucker, he's on the fucking computer with the damn DEA, and that no, 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 no. We
Well,
got to get you one of those. We got to get you one of those little satcom devices. You know what I mean? Where you can just like text bitches from the middle of the woods, "Hey, I'm cool," or "Hey, I just stumbled on a grow." You know what I mean? Like, we got to get you one of them. Like that's you need a kitty leash for the woods.
well, the good thing is that I haven't patrolled lines in a couple of years, so I'm actually just following or going to wherever the tree crews are. So there's usually at least someone out there, or supposed to be someone out there.
You didn't.
Sometimes,
You didn't read the Let's Not Meet that I sent you about the dude that was out there on the fucking on the tree crew that um him and his work partner found the damn kids underwear and shit in this random tent because somebody kept coming on their walkie-talkie transmissions,
I
and
don't
they knew
remember that
somebody
one.
was out there with. Oh my God, Brian.
I
Okay,
remember the other two that you sent me, but I don't remember that one.
I'm gonna send you. Okay, so check this out. Okay, dude, right? He's you know, he's a red foreman. Okay, he's Mr. Gung Ho work. He's whatever. So him and his partner, um, they're a tree crew. Okay, they go out and they I guess mark out what's going to be cut out or whatever. Similar to I guess what one of your crews would do. So they're out there and they're in the middle of fucking nowhere. Okay, I mean no fucking where. All right, like what was the? I think it was something crazy like 2 hours of clearing before their truck could even get within a 5 mile radius of the site. It's that out there. And this was again in Oregon. So they're out there doing their job, and then they hear this crazy ass, interference in their walkie talkies to one another. And they're just like, who in the fuck? There's nobody here. What the fuck is happening? So they're thinking that, maybe you know, the comm devices are failing or whatever, but that's not the case. So after a couple of days of this, they realize that there's somebody else out there. Okay. Now they had an RV that was, out where the work truck was that they would hike back to every night to sleep. Well, um, they go a little further in the next day and there is a tent out there. Okay. They know that it is current because there's an apple that has not rotted in there and it is full of children's underwear. Okay. Um, some some child porn related shit, some crazy shit. Okay. So the interference happens again the next day. And at this point, they have told one another, stay the fuck off the walkies, because we don't want to fucking relay our location to them. Let's just get the fuck done and get the fuck out of here. So the next day, the interference happens again. And they're just like, okay, we don't know what the fuck you're doing out here, but this is, a regulated site. Get the fuck out, basically is what they tell these people. So then they hear nothing else after that. They want to presume that the people are gone, but they keep hearing shit and whatever. They know they're not gone. So that night, as they are in the camper, there is a noise. And as they're sitting there looking, and dude is trying to get his pistol, um, they watch the doorknob turn. So the two of them go to the RV door, fling it open, and as they do, one dude stabs the man in the neck. Okay. And then there's another dude that is trying to grab the dude that's been stabbed and yank him from the RV. Well, his homeboy behind him, comes out swinging too. Well, then the dude that didn't do the stabbing takes off. And then the dude that did stab the guy, I guess, somehow managed to retract and then stab the dude in the eye. Well, the dude is now currently missing an eye. And I guess he's got it's the father of a Reddit writer. And he's got PTSD, eyeball gone, hasn't been able to work a day since. And um,
I don't know if you can hear me, but your video just froze.